Back to the workshop just down the road here from Pukekohe Park. There he is at the back next to the green flag. Andy Jones alongside me, ready for this one. 10 laps and can't wait to see what happens in turn number 1 with this incredible Mustang on the left-hand side. The revs come up and we get underway for the first time in the NZ Central Muscle Cars. It's going to be the Knight that gets the jump here because Fog had a whole heap of wheel spinners, a couple of cars dribbling away from the middle of the field there. We need to watch the back for that red Falcon.
And I don't think it was just Fog with wheel spin nolls. The entire field left 11s as they took off from the grid. Plenty of horsepower, not a heap of grip, and just laying licorice straps as they take off. That is awesome.
Left 11s. I love that terminology. There he is. He's on the charge already. That red 75 XD Falcon just picking him off one by one. Down the back straight for the first of 10 laps. The car's locking up. Perhaps was that smoke from the number 30 machine. Here he is. We'll keep an eye on him. He's picked off about less than 8 cars on the first lap. Here comes the leader. Knight down to the turn 8 Husqvarna hairpin. It's Tony Galbraith going side by side. One of the big HQ Monaros of Hansen on the exit there of turn number 8.
So no sign of that smoke that we saw down at turn 5, which would suggest that it was from a little brake lockup. These cars, heaps of power. They don't stop all that great, so they are on the brake early with still a little bit of turning going on. I'm going to say it was just a lockup. No, we'll all race on.
Cool shot across the curb cam at the final turn. Off the circuit goes our race leader. So Knight has gone off aboard that Oldsmobile Forenza. He'll be lucky to get this out. He does, because we haven't had the wet weather here over the weekend, so he'll limp his way back onto the circuit, but behind the back of that number 2. In fact, he's going to have to wait for the whole field to go past down there. Treacherous area.
And the issue that Andy's got down there is when you're strapped into the seat, you can't actually turn your body all that much. Here's another sign of a lockup.
Oh,
coming from the 73 of Wigston. That looks like that's done more damage, though. Was that right front flat as he was trying to turn through turn 6?
There's a couple of cars like that, though, too, through the bottom turn at turn number 6. A lot of smoke in the air at the moment. That's Peter Ward in the Ward Demolition Tirana. Smoke from either side, but he had issues yesterday, remember. We saw a bit of smoke from the right bank of that car. Didn't really affect the top-end speed of the Commodores back in the pits. That's the 66 machine.
And Wigston didn't go into the pit lane there, so that would tell me that the right front wasn't flat. Andy Knight here, though, has got a serious problem going on. Some smoke coming from just in front of that left wheel. I'd say that's an engine issue.
Isn't it funny how yesterday we had little to no dramas with these cars? You park them up overnight, bring them out the next day, and it's just issue after issue after issue.
I mean, when you think about it, the engines are highly stressed bits of gear. The cars, yes, they're maintained, but it's they're still not maintained to a supercars level. And at the minute, we've got smoke screens galore going around. So this is Wigston.
That's a tyre.
That is the right front tyre on that car that I noticed before.
And
Fog's
Fog
gone around.
So Fog has gone around. Now, he was in the race lead. Doesn't pay to be in the race lead here today.
And he's moving slowly, Fog. Oh, and Wigston just drives across the front of him.
And look who's stuck through.
Fog's going on, pressing on. He's out on the grass, though, to turn in at the second last corner. That was awkward. For a minute, I wasn't sure that Fog was going to get going because he was just rolling along quite slowly. Now, Wigston has gone to the pit lane this lap.
And from 24th on the grid, here's Dean Perkins on the back of the 81 now of Dean Hansen. So the two Deans arguing over first and second in a race where it doesn't pay to lead. We saw Hansen go off, Knight go off in the first corner. The Forenza's gone back into the pits. And now Perkins from 24th position on the grid is about to take the lead as he backs the red XD Falcon in to turn number 5, just pulls it up. So an engine change overnight has paid off big time for the 75 car.
And it's only taken him 3 laps to go from the rear all the way to the front because of some of the incidents that everybody else has had. Now, these are the 11s I'm talking about. Everybody up and down that whole field squirms sideways because the right foot is planted, left foot comes off the clutch. Whole heap of engine power says, we can't get to the ground here. We'll just spin up these rear tyres.
not seen a start like that in years. The white Commodore taking out the ITM sign before he even got to the start-finish line. Man, a very bizarre race to say the least here at Pukekohe Park on Saturday morning. Take a look at the replay of the start from a selection of our in-car cameras. Here's what happened tonight. So the Oldsmobile Forenza was sideways. Now, that's not unusual for Pukekohe Park. You'd say that's on a cool factor, that's 10.
That is on the rack stops there for Andy Knight, so there is no more lock available to him, trying to keep that car on the road. This is Wixton. This was a lap after we noticed that there was an issue in that right front. Now, I don't know if it was flat tyre or a suspension failure, and this is a replay of what was race leader at the time, Angus Fogg, just spinning on his own down at the hairpin. Very lazy spin, wasn't it? There's more lockups happening in the background of this shot as well. That was from the 87 going down into the bottom turn. That was Steve Dowdy. Now more smoke from the Ward demolition entry. Peter Ward, who's spent many a time crossing the oceans in between Australia and New Zealand to race over the past 10 years, runs in 5th position. So it's Perkins, Hansen, Fogg. That's your top 3. Tony Galbraith under siege. And whatever that smoke is coming out from the 96, I think it's enhancing the performance now of this Tirana. So we work laps 6 and 10 here. Race 1 of the NZ Central Muscle Cars. And depending on where that smoke's coming from, it'll either do one or two things. It'll burn it all away, and then lunch itself will have a hand grenade of an engine. But at the minute, it looks like it's not doing him any disfavour at all.
I'll pull the dipstick out in the race and go, oh, there's about 30 mil left. Maybe we'll top it up a bit more for race 2 later today.
It's getting progressively worse here, Nolts. This looks quite ominous. And again, from the 87 of Doherty, down at turn 5, huge smoke screen coming from that right front. Very different to the issue of Ward's. Ward's looks...
Oh no, now it's Perkins that's off. So for the 3rd time in this race, the race leader has gone off. And now Perkins, remember he came from the back of the field, will drop back to 3rd position. I can't believe this race. Here's the replay, Husqvarna hairpin, turn number 8, and just locked the rears. He was coming in hot, and off the track he goes. Yeah, I'm speechless too.
I was just listening and trying to have a look there of what's caused that, but definitely it's rear locking. Is there, when you're the leader, particularly in the case of Perkins, I was just thinking, is the car of Ward dropping a little bit of oil down? But that doesn't really work for me, given that Perkins is only a couple of cars up the road on him. That was a mistake, unfortunately. It's a bit of pass the baton going on here when you're the race leader. No, you lead, you lead.
Wow, I don't know what to say. Perkins has got back past Hansen, so that's one car. Now he'll chase Angus Fogg, who goes back into the lead. And that J.A. Russell Mustang will come and join us for the combined races at Bathurst with a grid of 52 cars. Will contest at Mount Panorama in a few weeks. No less than 18 cars heading across to contest. Then down the inside at turn number 8 goes Clark Hopkins. Tirana on Tirana. And now he starts to pick his way through the field, that gunmetal grey number 8.
And it looks like Ward has waved the white flag. He was slowing there. It looked like he was peeling off to the right-hand side. So technical terms is, it wasn't the white flag. It was the orange meatball flag. So that one there is an issue, mechanical issue.
This time Doty has gone off in turn, that's the final turn. In fact, on the right-hand side, just before pit entry. So he locked the brakes up twice in succession. Watch the back of the shot. The car just steered off the track. And look how close that was. He got the wall as well.
No way. So I could, if we connect a few dots here, Nolts, for 2 or 3 laps, we saw Doherty arrive down at turn 5, locking that inside front. What happens when you get to that second last corner there and you're right, you turn the car, you load up that right front. Has he got it down to canvas? Has the thing popped? It certainly looks like it. But the crazy bit about that was, how close was he to making contact with Ward's car?
Incredible scene. Must have missed that Tirana by inches. He got the wall with the right rear of the car. The safety car has been called. Here it is. So watch the top of screen. There's the Tirana limping back into the pits. And here comes the yellow Camaro across the top of the grass. And he's just a passenger from this point into the fence. Ward having to take evasive action. He was limping back to the pits anyway. that could have been much, much worse.
Shades of the Jason Bright incident from a couple of years ago where he ended up parked down there, not as far out of the way as Doherty, but more blocking the pit entry. So very lucky for Ward, because his day could very easily have gone from not having a good day to my car is absolutely being destroyed through no fault of his own. Man, that looked crazy close from that angle.
I know we have a highlights package at the end of this race. I think all 11 laps, 10 laps of this race are going to be shown in there, because it's been on from the minute the lights went out here. Pukekohe Park Raceway. The Vodafone safety car leads the field around with Angus Fogg, who scored pole position yesterday by blistering 1.5 seconds. We got Dean Perkins reigning second. He led the race for a while. So too did Fogg. Perkins coming from the back of this 24-car field, which again will mix up over the next two races, where we have the handicap starts with time differences in between the groups. And expect some of the fast cars to be at least 50 seconds behind the slower cars at the front. They have turned on some incredible racing, but we didn't need to do that today with this standing start based on the qualifying from yesterday.
And if you're looking for entertainment, the NZ Central muscle cars deliver, don't they?
Absolutely.
This has been a bit crazy, but very entertaining.
In car with Clark Hopkins now, car number 8 that runs in 5th position. He's finished runner-up in the Class 1 category here on 3 occasions as he pulls up behind the back of Tony Galbraith. Just to let him know he's still there when we get back to a restart.
Careful, mate. Don't damage the back of that thing.
Exactly. Andy Jones will come down and see you.
I like the Charger. Looks cool. Very tough.
So here's the view from the start. This will be from the Tirana as he just went 1, 2, 3, 4 cars. So everybody tried to just get the power down to the ground. I think every car laid the 11s down, as he called it, before we got to turn number 1. Hopkins, who started from 11th position in this race, made up at least 5 of those spots in the first turn.
That was a good start, wasn't it? Everybody else was just sitting there, arms out the window, looking like they were in a burnout competition. Hopkins was gone. So this will give us a good little shot of what happened here down at turn 5. So there was no brake lock up from any of the cars up ahead of Hopkins. Good little battle going on. That's the widest Charger in the world up there.
Yes.
Is that John Bowe driving that car? Making it incredibly wide.
I think there's a bit of contact between H. Kiminaro on the exit there as well. Going for a full lap here on the first lap while we're under Vodafone safety car for Clark Hopkins, number 8 Tirana.
And you can just hear Hopkins there just on and off the throttle, just feathering it. So much power at his disposal. And as he comes through that left-hander before the fast right and up over the hill, sound really cool to be able to listen and, for me, visually understand what he's doing with the throttle in that car. Just working really, really hard to drive these cars around here.
Just so many cool cars out there, ranging from the 60s and 70s right up to the mid-80s now. And with this being the final lap, it's going to be like it was in 2018 in race number 1. We'll finish under the Vodafone safety car. Only Ford Raptor picks up Steve Dowdy's car from the gravel trap. One very lucky guy. Same too for Peter Ward, who was coming back into the pits. But Angus Fogg, he led the initial laps of this race, spun at turn number 8, put Perkins into the lead, who then spun at turn number 8. And Fogg will win race number 1 of today's NZ Central Muscle Cars here at Pukekohe Park Raceway. And to the applause of this great crowd, we had a big crowd in for Friday yesterday, and they've been pouring into this venue since the sun rose here this morning in New Zealand. And Angus Fogg winning under safety car from Dean Perkins, Dean Hansen 3rd. We go back to Galbraith, Clark Hopkins, Tristan Tecchi in 6th. Back to Holland, Sinclair, Holden, and Tony Boyden completing the top 10 in this race that really had it all in the first 5 laps. Steve Neuer was 11th. Back to Ross Graham 13th. Cam Crawford and that beautiful Mercury was 16th. Down to the DNFs, and my goodness, there was a whole list of them, wasn't there?
And the Doty Wixton cars were very, very lucky to not make contact in that quite awkward, ugly situation down at the pit entry.
So Randy Knight at the bottom of that screen too. He led the race for about a lap and a half, and for the Fogg team, well, they're happy because that beautiful black and gold number 11 has picked up the first race